What's going on, everybody? I want to talk really briefly about 5 things you could do to increase your credit score, as a lot of people are considering going into the market to buy a home, or those of you who are in homes and you need to refinance and maybe your score isn't where you need to be. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about reserves and their importance in this market. Stay tuned.
If you're over 40 and want to be the best version of yourself, Fit Over 40 with Coach Clarence is here to help.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Fit Over 40 with Coach Clarence. I am Coach Clarence. I'm your host. And today we are going to be focusing on the financial piece of our triangle, and that is credit. It is a huge topic. It comes up all the time. I see it all the time. It's a big one that I have to deal with, so I want to talk about it. So let's talk about the importance of your credit score. As we all know, everything is based around your credit. If you took out a loan, did you pay it back on time? Were you on time with your payments? All this builds your credit. Now, over time, a lot of us, it's happened to me, sometimes you make mistakes, sometimes you have a tragedy. It affects your credit score. It affects your ability to pay on time. So these are some things that affect your score, most commonly known as a FICO score. And all lenders generally use it. There are some lenders that just look at consumer reports. That's a whole nother video, a whole nother topic. Maybe I'll do a video about consumer reports. And those are third-party agents or companies that get your information and give it to the credit bureaus or people who pay for that information when they're making a decision, like hiring you or giving you credit, stuff like that. All right, so one of the first things you want to do, your first tip, is you want to check your credit report, okay? There are a lot of services out there, freecreditreport.com. If you've applied for a loan and you were denied, you can ask for a copy of your consumer report. Generally, if I'm doing a loan with you, I go over your credit with you. If it's fine, we say it's fine, let's keep moving. If there's some things that sound crazy or don't make sense, then we can go over. So again, go to annualcreditreport.com or free credit report, one of those two. You can take out your credit report for free for 1 year. There are some monitoring services where if you want to pay a small monthly fee, you can be abreast of what your credit score is every month and see if there's any changes in the offer. They'll give you alerts like, hey, something just came on your report, or hey, did you have this company look at your credit, blah, blah, blah. All right. What are some common errors and why you want to look at your credit report? Because this happens a lot with people. They don't know some. I had a gal, I just closed a loan for her. She had filed a bankruptcy and she hadn't thought about it for years, but she was only a month out. Why is that important? There were programs she couldn't get involved in versus us just saying, hey, let's wait. This will close in time for this to be out of that month. Or let's go with this lender. They don't care about that. They have different underwriting guidelines. So it's important to know things like, is your name spelled correctly? Are there multiple versions of your name? These create problems. It looks kind of, I know this may sound weird. At different points in your life, you may had a maiden name, or maybe you used part of your name, or maybe you didn't use your middle name. Well, what it looks like to the credit bureaus is that you are maybe trying to hide something. Maybe you're trying to cause a variation so that it looks different. So you want to make sure that there's only one correct spelling of your name on your credit report, just one. All right. Another common one I see is multiple different addresses, like you're moving all over the place. There should only be one address, your current address where you're currently getting your mail. There's a simple form we can fill out for you, or I can show you how to do it yourself so that you correct that error. It should only be one address on there. And it's important because it sounds simple, but it really impacts your score. It impacts that you got addresses all over the place. You got to explain, because they're like, where does this person live? Is she here? Is she there? Or he there? Whatever. Okay. So it's important to go over again to make sure that everything is correct. And a lot of times it will improve your score just because you're cleaning all that up. Where do you work? Sometimes it's listed on your credit report. Make sure that's the one job that you work, not 3 or 4, because an underwriter may say, look at your credit and go, well, are they at Coca-Cola or are they at Target? Which one is it? Why didn't they show that W-2? Just avoiding these little headaches along the way. And underwriters can be picky sometimes. All right, number 2, very important, is pay down your debt. You hear a lot of people talk about, you want to strive to become debt-free. There are other people say debt is good. And that's a whole different mindset and a whole different concept. Don't confuse the two. I'm talking about credit utilization when you have credit cards. So if you got a $10,000 credit limit, and your balance is $3,000, you got a credit utilization of around 30%. Ideal is around 10%. I've even heard some experts say 5%. Why is that important? Because it shows that you can manage your money. Having a bunch of credit cards with very low balances and that you're using all the time. We don't want to not use. Don't have to play this game of I don't use my credit cards. I don't want. That shows you can't manage your finances. Okay, so you want to use your credit cards, but keep your balances low. Some people pay them all the way up. I don't recommend that. I recommend you keep at least a minimum 5 to 10. So we'll keep the experts happy. Okay. It is very important because, again, it shows that you can manage your money, okay? A lot of people, I don't want to get credit cards. I don't want to get debt. Then you're not showing, okay, if you don't want a little $10,000 car, how are you going to ask for a $500,000 house? You got to be able to show you can manage the little budgets. It's super important, okay? We've all had tough times, rough times, got in a hole, and our balances were high. And this is another reason why you want to have your credit pulled before you go, so we can go, hey, before we start thinking about that house, let's pay off these credit cards so that your approval comes in higher. I've seen points jump 20, 30% just paying down credit card balances. So super important. What are some strategies for paying down your credit cards? Okay, when you get your check, pay your regular bills, keep all that current. Prioritize paying off higher interest credit cards first. Use the snowball method, right? What's the snowball method? Smaller balances, pay off those smaller balances to first build some momentum. So let's say you have a $10,000 card and you have a $5,000 card. Well, let's address the smaller one because it's going to have smaller amounts you need to get covered, and then move to that. And you can set up biweekly payments. So make your regular payment. You can make a second payment that knocks that balance off. So when you get your balance, you know how credit cards work. You'll have a $10,000 balance and they'll say your payment is $83. And you're like, woo, I'm rolling. Don't do that. Knock as much of that principal off as you can. Again, we can teach you how to budget. We can teach you how to look at these things and go, I'm going to pay this much. I'm going to pay that much every paycheck till we get it knocked out. And then you can move to the next credit card, on and on and on. Okay. You can also, if you've got a lot of debt and you've got a lot of equity, a refinance is a quick way to knock all that debt down. Learn these strategies because I'll teach you while we're going through this refinance process, and you won't get in that hole again. So you'll start fresh with zero balances. You'll have a little extra cash. Now you're rolling. Now just be responsible and let's not get in that hole again, okay? Planning for the future. The long-term benefits is the lower credit utilization can possibly affect your credit score. Number 3, okay? This is a obvious one, but listen, I'm not going to sit there and act like holier than thou. Shit happens. You get injured. You lose your job. An unexpected bill wipes you out. A lot of people are paycheck to paycheck. I have been paycheck to paycheck. I have been in scenarios where I couldn't pay my bills. Seriously, I'm not up here acting like these things have never happened. So that's why I'm passionate about showing other people, okay? Payment history is super important, okay? It's about 35% of your score. That's a big chunk, okay? One 30-day late can knock your score down. I've seen it knock people's score down almost 40 points. And, you know, most lenders want to see that you've got a nice swing of good payments for a minimum of 12 months. You know, there are some lenders who are outside the box who, you know, they'll allow you to go maybe 1 or 2 payments, you know, but you're going to be paying a higher interest rate because you present a higher risk factor. But let's just avoid that. Stay on your budget. Make sure before you go do the big thing, before you go buy something else, make sure you're falling right in line with your budget. Budgeting is important. Remember when you were younger, your mom used to say, set up a budget, okay? It's important to have a budget, you know, make sure you have a little bit going to savings, a little bit going to investment, and then your bills, and then make sure you pay yourself first. And again, other videos for other times, lots of financial experts out there. I do mortgages and credit restoration. I'm not a CPA, I'm not a financial advisor, but I know a bunch and they're on my team and I can refer you. So again, this is just a quick video and a quick podcast to really talk about things you can do, because I know there are a lot of people moving into this market coming up, and I want to make sure they're in a good place to move forward. Okay, tips for making your payments on time is set up automatic payments to your bank. You know, so you can set up bi-weekly payments. You can set reminders in your phone. If you got an iPhone or Android, whatever you have, get an iPhone. But anyway, on the iPhone, you could just set a calendar reminder. This bill's due. Give yourself the leeway you need. Reminders. You know, that reminder is very important. It's just like you get a text message saying, boop, so-and-so card is due, or so-and-so is due, so you know to pay it on time, okay? Calendars are great. There are different financial apps out there that help you do this, okay? It's super important of making more than the minimum payment on any debt you have, okay? We've already talked a little bit about the consequences of late payments. It affects your scores. It does. I've seen people with great credit have one mishap and boom, it sets them back. Now, if a lot of things are in order, you've got some other good things, a great payment history. A lot of times we can explain to an underwriter, hey, this person had this unfortunate thing happen. They got right on it. Look how great they've been. Okay. So again, we can paint a picture, act as your attorney, so to speak, when we go in front of underwriter, say this person's a good credit risk. They just had an accident, or they just had this, or something went wrong and they were unable to pay on time. Okay. We can fix those. Okay. Another big one is, and this is a trick, avoid multiple inquiries on your credit. If you are monitoring your credit, you should be able to determine what you can do. So for example, if you came to me and said, Clarence, I'm following your advice. I have my score monitored. I've never been late. I have a 780. I'm going to say, as long as that is true, you qualify for this without having to pull your credit, do multiple things to you. I should be able to give you advice. Now, obviously, we're going to have to verify that that's true, but we can do what they call a soft pull, right? And a soft pull is an inquiry, but it doesn't affect your score like a hard pull where you pull all three bureaus, okay? Soft pull, generally, we're going to use one of the major bureaus. It's going to give us a snapshot of where you are. And again, if you're monitoring your credit, I use that one credit bureau goes, does this all look correct? You might say, yeah, but it's missing some. Is that on time? Great, because when we do a tri-merge, that's going to help you even more. So a hard inquiry is where a lot of times you go to a car dealership, and this is unfortunate how they do. They'll pull theirs, and if they can't qualify you right on the top, generally they have a preferred lender they want to use. So they get their kickbacks, they get their better commission based on that lender. That's true. And they can, at me and say whatever they want. It's just true. Okay. If you fall through that hole, then they start shotgunning you to the different lenders, and these different lenders pull their own credit. So you'll notice you go to a car dealership and there's 100 different inquiries, and you're like, what the hell? And a lot of times you'll notice your score goes down. Now you're forced to buy something based on your score dropping that you could have got somewhere else. It's always important before you do any type of major purchase to have a credit consultation. I stress this so much, because so many people don't realize what's on their credit report. They just go through life with blinders on. Okay. With mortgages, and you've seen me do videos about this, there's different, I've seen the average about 45 days. The credit bureaus know that it is a mortgage lender inquiry. So when you have your credit pulled by, let's say me, it shows up on your credit report. But if you go, let's say, well, I'm going to try the bank, and you have them pull your credit, it's not going to hurt you as much, especially the higher your score. It does. If you do a lot, it does knock it down a little bit. But if you're starting high, it shouldn't affect you. You know what I mean? If you got an 800 and you drop to 790, if you got a 580 and you drop to a 560, that's a problem. So be mindful of that. Again, if you know what your credit score is, you should be able to get the general information you need. Obviously, we need to verify that. We need to verify where you work, all that stuff that you put on the application, but you should be able to do that without going through multiple inquiries. Now, we do have a service that helps you take off inquiries or inquiries that have been sitting on there too long, because there are a lot of things that happen on your credit report that they don't tell you about, and those things affect you. It affects that number. Like I said, numbers of inquiries can affect your score, and that's not important. And I mean that is important. So you definitely want to make sure that you are monitoring that. Okay, is super important. Another thing I want to warn you about: when you go to get a loan, make sure your loan officer tells you or puts you on the do not call list, because we have what I call them bottom feeders, guys who aren't doing anything to earn your business. They're watching someone who is being responsible, following you, letting you know when rates change, or just being a really good advocate for your best mortgage needs. Anyway, let's say the person is not thinking, they run your credit. Well, now all of a sudden your phone starts ringing. You got 5 to 10 different lenders calling you, blowing your phone up, talking about they can get you the lowest rate. Show us what your lender sent you. We'll just chop it. That's just vulturism, you know? So a lot of us who've been into business, we hate those type of guys. They call them trigger leads, okay? They are waiting. The credit bureaus, shady. They sell your information to these fools and they call you. They'll say, hey, so-and-so just pulled your credit. Now, if it's me and you've pulled your credit, if I'm not on the ball doing my job and you're like, hey, I need to do a refinance for whatever reason, I don't know where Clarence is, that's on me. But generally, if I've done a loan for you, I'm keeping in touch with you. I'm saying, how's it going? What's happening? Anything new we need to be thinking about? So we can avoid that. But it does happen. Maybe you say, hey, I want to get a refinance and whatever. I saw an ad I liked. It looked really cheap. I'm going to go for it. And you do that. Just be mindful and make sure you're on that do not call, or you're going to hate life for a few weeks. You're going to be blocking your calls. You may actually block your loan officer that you need to talk to. Okay. Again, multiple inquiries in a short amount of time is not good. It looks like that you are looking for a better deal. Generally, when you have good credit, you should be able to get the answer you need in one shot, right? So it's super important. And then if you have to do something, make sure you spread that out. If you have to do multiple inquiries into your credit, spread it out over time. Okay. Now, let's talk about what not to do while you're in the mortgage process. And you've seen a million videos, you've seen mine, but people do it. When you are in the process of a home loan or refinance, a HELOC, do not apply for new credit. Here's what I'll tell you again when we talked about trigger leads. Those same leads are sold to people who buy your information to sell you zero interest credit cards, or come get this new car, or get this appliance. And you're thinking, cool, I don't got to pay interest for a year or 2 years, whatever the hook is to get you in there. And then what do? You take that debt on. Well, guess what? An underwriter doing their job is going to be right around that closing time, going to do a quick little, let's see if Mrs. or Mrs. Jones have been behaving and they haven't bought anything new. And they buy it. And guess what? Now we have to recalculate your debt. And I've seen people fall out in closing because they screwed up and bought something and it showed up on their credit report. Just don't do it. Or at least talk to your loan officer. If it's something you really need, maybe there's another way you can purchase it without adding to your debt. Okay. Nothing illegal. Just there's a strategy to everything. Okay. It's how the rich stay rich and the poor screw themselves over. Don't do it. We know you got your new house. You're shopping for furniture as soon as you get that approval. Don't do it. Don't get that furniture on credit because you got a great credit score, because you're going to have to now add that to your debt. And guess what? Now you're going to have to buy a condo. I'm kidding. Nothing wrong with condos. You get the point. And I made a short about it. If you follow me on Instagram, Clarence M. Ferguson, called We Like You Just the Way You Are. It's a take on that old song. I think it's Billy Joel. We like you just where you are. Don't change anything. We're looking for consistency on mortgage applications. All right. Excuse me. A lot of talking this week, so my voice is a little crackly. Number 5 and last, keep your old accounts open. One of the mistakes I see people do when they say, I'm going to clean my credit up, they'll go to old, accounts they haven't had in a while and delete them. Why? Old accounts show that you've had credit history. Credit history is part of that calculation that gets to your credit score. So you want to keep old accounts open. It shows good credit history. Even a bad account that maybe you missed a couple payments, but you had 2 years of great payment. That's payment history, okay? Longer credit history is going to get you a higher. You want to get to that past 780, get into the 800 range. That's long credit history, like a smart parent who helped their kid get credit when they were 18. Now they're 30 or 40. They got a high credit score. If you're just trying to get in the game, it's going to take you a minute. So 15% of your FICO score is based on credit history. I myself was denied a loan because this is before I really knew about credit. I was, up until literally my 30s and late 30s, to be honest, I was paying for things in cash. I wasn't thinking about credit. Now, there's some wisdom in that, and then there's some foolishness in that. So when I went, one of the things they said, well, you don't have bad credit. You just don't have any credit history, so we don't know. Or what will happen then is say, we won't give you 10,000, we don't give you 1,000. See how you do with that. So again, that credit history. And you parents out there, you want to help your kids. One of the biggest things you can do is teach them financial literacy now. So they don't be an old head like me who screwed up, fucked up, did a lot of crazy shit. And now in his late 50s, you know, I mean, it's good for my kids. They can learn from it, but you got to make sure that you teach your kids this stuff. This is simple stuff, man. It's not hidden. It's right there. There's tons. You can just Google tons of videos about financial literacy, and most of us just don't know, okay? So again, don't go rush to close accounts, because now when your credit's full, you don't got any account history. That's why you don't want to do it, okay? Again, just some general thing, you know, if you have old accounts and you got a little credit, use it. Go buy yourself some gas, buy your wife a rose, take your mom or your dad out to dinner if they're still with you, you know, and then go pay it down to the correct utilization. Simple stuff like that. Buy gas, you know, simple things like that, okay? Again, really quick recap of the 5 things you need to do to keep your credit where it needs to be on high, and so you can get the best deal, the best programs. Number 1, have a credit consultation. I do that. You can have a credit consultation with me, and I'll go over all this with you, and I'll make sure you're in a good position. It might be a 10-minute phone call. It could be an hour. It could be, and you can just go right to my calendar link. It's in the description. And if you're listening to this, just email me, info@coachclarence.com. I'll send you the link. We can talk about it. Obviously, number 2, pay down all your debt. That's wise. Make your payments on time. Number 3, avoid a lot of credit inquiries. And number 5, don't get rid of your old accounts. Celebrate being old. Although in this country, getting too old is a problem, apparently. You know, you get too old, they want to just get rid of you. Well, in terms of credit, don't do that. Keep those old accounts, okay? There's wisdom, us old people. Anyway, guys, I appreciate, as always, you tuning in, asking questions. If any of this information you found helpful, please give me a nice like. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe so you can be abreast of every video that comes out. If you're following me on Facebook, share this with somebody. If you follow me on Instagram, share it, comment, you know, say if you learned something new, ask a question, whatever, don't be shy. And we're going to keep trying to bring you these 3 pillars of Fit Over 40: finances, mindset, and fitness. All right, that's not the rock. That is the Fit Over 40 thing. All right, guys, it's been a real one. We'll see you next time. The sun is actually piercing through, messing up the view. That's what you just saw go through there. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Take care of yourself. Be happy, be blessed, and don't let the media drive you crazy. They're good at it.